It was just up here where you guys. There's no line, I guess.
I think Penny's the one that has to certify it, right? But she's
Yeah,
in
she
the
was-
state now too.
She was just in here not that long ago.
Just about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
What is it? It's the annual.
Annual road report.
Oh,
So,
which is a calendar year, not a fiscal year.
which is, no, it's actually a fiscal
Fiscal
year.
year, not a calendar year.
Yeah.
The state fiscal.
Which is
year or
different
county
from what-
fiscal year.
Penny told us 2 years ago, but it is what it is, and that's the numbers that I had were, I was still going off a calendar year, and so Ron and I the other day had switched things around and was able to come up a lot closer to the numbers that I can support for munis and stuff with the numbers that are here versus
Yeah.
originally what Penny had had. So
Hopefully each year we get it. So do we sign this or we just have to approve it or easy?
you have to approve it. I think Penny's the one that has to sign it, certify it, and send it off this day, right?
Okay.
Yep. I had Chris do it. You guys didn't get these. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
You guys didn't either.
We got it. I think that. Take it to somebody who's blood sugar.
Go for it.
Dark chocolate.
No, but I have a dark chocolate. That's better for your blood sugar.
Yeah.
As long as it's not contaminated with lead.
This is sea salt dark chocolate. Would you rather have sea salt?
So.
You're not signing
Is
it?
that yours? Well, where do we sign it? You want us
Right up
just to
here.
initial it? Oh, there is a
There's a
signature.
signature
Oh.
line right up here for each one of you. Okay.
I'll make a motion. that we
Here's some.
approve the road report. Second that, Joe.
Yes, second.
All in favor? Aye. Now it looks like spring.
Yeah, look at it.
It's already getting cold. Almost done.
Not yet, but it will. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you have a copy of the final?
No, I don't.
Okay,
I
do you
had-
want to send it to him? Okay.
So I looked at the numbers that Ron had sent me. I
Mhm.
just didn't have a copy of this final.
Okay.
So,
Next year, we'll probably fill it out before we send it to you on the areas that we're confident of.
okay,
And then, it is fiscal year, not calendar year.
yeah,
Okay.
Ron and I talked about that. so-
Okay,
And that's where some of my numbers were different. is-
that's what he said. So
Yeah.
anyway, and I'll try and send a reminder back.
Okay,
next year.
and when you get ready to start working on your portion, call me up and I mean, we can certainly work on it together too.
Perfect. Thank you.
How was the bowling road this morning?
Bad.
Oh, I thought you were asking Penny, thought she'd maybe go for,
Oh.
that's that new car.
Don't go up there in that new car. Well, there's a lot of drifting going on all over the place.
Like, not rotary yet.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it keeps up from flowing the way it is, we're gonna have to get out the rotary. So there is a lot of drifting going on up there.
And the fun thing is drifting one way and the front goes through and the windows through. Yeah.
And come back, yeah. Yeah.
They were sure out early on the west side. Doing their thing.
Yeah, also, there's a bunch of them that got called about 4 AM, so. Wes was out at about 3:15 this morning,
Really.
yeah. So
Well, he's already almost got his 8 hours for the day done.
we worked 10, he's not quite at his 10, but yeah. So first thing we have on the agenda is amendment number 13 for Great West Engineering. For some waste screening training due to this 3 to 5 year audit and what DEQ is requiring. And so, this is an amendment for Great West. They'll come, they'll take a look at what we have. They'll go through some training at both the Hatch Pit, Peterson landfill, and the transfer station. It's for $10,000 and it'll cover two to three bullet points of DEQ's checklist. So.
Where are we on that overall?
Overall, we met with them the other day. We did get some extensions on the December 30th deadline that was coming up for a number of them. Great West is working on a number of items. This is part of those. Blair is also working on a number of items. We've already taken care of a few of them and submitted them to DEQ.
This day today.
Today's
21st.
21st,
First day of winter.
First day of winter.
shortest day of the year.
That's right. Tonight's the party night, right? Winter solstice.
Oh, maybe if you're through with your.
Pagan.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Next is. I've got the contract back from HK for our 45th East project. There are 3 copies there for the commissioners to sign. I think it's only one signature needed on each of them, but it should be the last page.
Can't do it all in 1 year.
They're gonna try, but I don't think they're gonna get everything done in 1 year. It's gonna probably carry over a little bit into 2024.
If there's any piping to do, will they do that this year? North of the railroad?
Most of the piping has been done, but if there's any piping left, we'll have to get it before April.
I think they've already done the
I think
majority
they've
of
done
it. I know it's done past my neighborhood,
Yeah,
The developers do those.
and they did all the way up to that corner because they had finished that too and had that intersection shut off. So they gotta be really close.
they're really close on the piping, the irrigation pipe.
I would rather see them take 2 years than be paving in 30-degree temperature in November like
Yeah.
they did this year out on.
Yeah,
Really, we can follow Ammons planning schedule and wait until the day before school starts. Do all the roads going into the school.
let's not say we did.
A lot of it will depend on what their workforce is, if they have a lot of other big contracts, so.
Yeah,
They get it done quicker than they think, yeah.
next is the conditional acceptance for Sierra Springs subdivision number 2. They have got to the point where we're wanting to give them a conditional acceptance.
We don't have to mention those. One, two, two, one, two, two. We're on a binary code.
Yeah,
Almost. Zeros and ones.
Wasn't it? Oh, yeah, there's zeros and ones.
The next is a right-of-way contract for 45th East. This is parcel number 80. This is John and September Hill. One of the problems or the parcels with that strip next to it that we were trying to work through, so.
How about Hatch?
Well, we haven't heard back yet. That doesn't surprise me.
No.
Good luck.
I think that, if we don't hear anything back by that first week of January, we're probably gonna have to just make the decision to go to eminent domain and condemnation on it. So,
The nice thing is when Auburn calls me, I can say, well, that's under litigation, I can't talk to you.
There's still one more contract that is coming in. And then Alvin Hatch, and that's all of them, that's all of them, I think, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Pretty
that's
dang
still-
good. Got it there.
Yeah.
Um. So I wanted to tell you. Next week, I'll probably have it on the agenda for a resolution. For you to sign for a. LTAC STBG rural program. It is for an application. To improve County Line Road. 145th north from 55th east to 75th east. We can apply for one project through the rural program every year.
So we're doing that with Jefferson County.
No, the portion from 55th to 75th is our portion to maintain. That we've got, so they go from 55th back to the west. Is where they maintain.
But isn't a joint.
It's kind of joint on some of the winter maintenance and stuff. If we get there first, whatever.
Jurisdiction.
It is sort of joint jurisdiction, but we've kind of split it up into segments versus half and half. So
Where does the actual county line? Down the middle of the road. Or,
it varies just a little bit. Yeah. But so we've split it up. We've taken from 55th basically out to Ryrie on County Line Road. That's the portion that we maintain. So this is the first 2 miles of that. Again, I'll have a resolution for you to sign next week, and I'll work with them about getting it on the agenda and making sure the numbers are right. I also have had, David Romerell and I have been working on 3 applications through BMPO. Through the urban project. 2 of them are on 26th West, 1 mile at a time to try to improve that section. Widen it out just a little bit, add shoulders to it. Take care of a dip in the road out there. The 3rd application is for the intersection of First and Ammon. And it's that signal right now. We've been having some struggles with it. We did a traffic count out there. And as far as capacity goes, that signal is probably over capacity. And so talking with ITD, they think one of the solutions, well, there's a few different solutions. One of the solutions that I'm applying for here is to add lanes at the intersection on all 4 legs. The second part of that solution is the camera system is nearly obsolete. So I worked with them and got a quote from a manufacturer to get a new camera system installed. I've already went forth and trying to purchase that and get that installed. Because the camera system and the detection system, what we're gonna buy and get up is about $23,000. And then I'll get it installed. That will work for all of the new lanes that we're adding. But the existing camera system is nearly dead. So we aren't gonna be able to wait for this program to go through. But this would add lanes and curb gutter sidewalk. Will go to a left turn, a through and a through right on both the north and southbound. And on the east and westbound legs will probably go to at least a left. And through, maybe a through right. it depends on some of those movements. I'm working with them with ITD again and try to get an actual turning movement count. But that won't happen until spring. But rather than wait for that, I'm applying for it now, and so between these 4 applications, we'll be asking for close to $6 million in federal funds.
Very good.
So,
Refreshing.
Hoping he has my vote, at least.
which may be a first. To have a vote from the planning side. The last item that I have, I'll talk about, JB contacted me again about Birch Creek Ranch subdivision. That road up there, I know we postponed the second phase of that in the geotechnical report. And they're wanting to know if we go ahead and get Strata under contract to come in the spring and to do that before they expend money on design, or what are your feelings on that? I didn't know.
When it's being sold, I think we should study it. It's good to study things. Yeah. Yeah, because we've got a list of things we're working on, all these projects and everything, so we'll get to it.
Well, I can pass that on to them, so.
Okay.
I think that covers what I had on the agenda and I need to talk about. Is there anything else?
I was just talking to Brian Powell and Trish and Derek have been working. You know, they found out on his site, he somehow had them coded differently than, so it wouldn't come into our system on GIS. But he's working on that, you know.
Okay.
We're awful close, you know, just that quick. We'll probably try to put a simple one together so everybody understands, you know, not make it too complicated. John Radford is he's pushing this. So I think we'll have to at least have open exchange of that information done pretty quick.
Yeah, good.
So
I know, talked with Derek a little bit about it, and he's had a very hard time getting Trish to communicate with him. So,
okay, since I know that, we'll kind of correct that. Because she knows this is a super high priority, but she gets off on her own projects at times. This is gonna be a top priority. You know,
okay,
and the way we'll do it is after the first of the year, we'll call a group together and report in Chris Frederickson's office with Radford and me there.
okay.
And I think that seems to encourage them to hurry.
Probably would, yeah.
See what else is. I was gonna ask you, what are they on that bypass? But, you know, the department, you know, down to the 2 choices.
I haven't heard, I haven't heard whether they actually came out with a decision or not. We got the results back of the last public meeting and stuff. There was some information they shared with us. There was over 70 written comments. 23 of them thought H was the better option. And another
Which is
40, H is the further out and around that would end up through Hatchpit or close to Hatchpit. There were over 50 that thought that was a terrible idea and would never go for it. There was like 35 that said the option that stayed essentially on route was the better option. And then there was, 20 or so that just said, don't do anything. So they haven't come out that I'm aware of with a preferred alternative. They were hoping to get that done in December, but I haven't seen anything yet.
That's why I was curious.
I thought the decision had been made. Last fall, we kind of got word that.
So last fall, there was still two alternatives, the H alternative and the E3 alternative.
Okay.
And the no build, that's what had to go into the NEPA process. And they have to include that no build. And then there was those two other alternatives, and that's where the public meeting that was in October, I think, down at the Shiloh, they wanted another round of public input on it. And then they were supposed to come out with a preferred alternative in December.
Yeah, I think what we were hearing was the unofficial attitudes of the highway district.
Yeah, there's been nothing official. Still,
I don't think they've released anything.
so. But it was interesting reading through a lot of their comments, and it's like, I don't know, and it's always. I live out there, so that's a terrible option, move it somewhere else. Or I live here, so that's a terrible option, move it there. And it just, there seemed to be more and more of that, if anybody had a preference, it was the one that was furthest away from me. And it didn't matter what it was, it just, as long as it's away from me.
What about the connectors, you know, where they redo Beach's Corner?
There hasn't been a whole lot more said on that, just because they've been concentrating more on the highway 26 and 25th East one. But they are still planning on 49th North, so.
We have a proposal for trading this Yellowstone for.
They haven't come back with a different proposal, a written proposal yet, so.
Where are you on comprehensive plan with P and Z?
We can basically pull it back whenever. It's kind of a challenge to get through it with P and Z because Doyle wants it to be wherever the sewer is and.
Not the area of impact.
No, I know,
Redoing here.
yeah, that's still where Doyle is. He wants it to be wherever the sewer is. So I've given him a couple of proposals and we just need to regroup on it.
Well, the comprehensive plans should plan an area for development and then you'll get the utilities in later.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're only doing where services are, you're talking about an area of impact. Yeah.
so we just need to get back with it. Doyle's hard to work around with that sometimes, but.
Well, what sense are you getting for others, especially
They're all fine with it.
they wouldn't.
It's just gonna be one of those things, we're just gonna have to put it to vote.
So Doyle not gonna be at the next meeting.
No, I think he will be.
And then Kevin Ward elected me.
That was the
Chair.
last meeting that,
And he said. So. If Doyle's not there and I'm. Chair. He said, can I limit the amount of time people can talk to like 10 minutes? I said, yes.
He just won't.
yeah,
Well,
I sent,
Kevin will. He said,
so
I'm not doing the 2 o'clock in the morning meeting.
Bingham County's actually passed. I was just looking around the other day, Bingham County's passed a resolution for their P and Z meetings that kind of outlines what public testimony looks like. And Kevin Ward had talked to me a little bit, so I just sent it to him and I said, here's kind of a
Ooh, I'd
rough
like-
idea.
I'd
We
like
don't
to
have to
see that.
necessarily adopt all of this, but maybe this is something that you can bring up, so I'm hopeful that he will.
You know, I was wishing that you would have been at our AIC meetings last week when they talked about the public meeting time. You probably are already aware of it, but I thought some good ideas were brought up, and one of them was to have a visual clock. When you
Wrestling-
limit
wrestling
testimony to 2 minutes or 3 minutes, have a clock. That they can
People,
see.
they can see.
Because they said it really cuts down on people, you know, trying to go over. And it kind of causes some peer pressure from the rest of the crowd, because they see a clock tick down and.
Yeah, I don't even think we have one at our
Do we have one?
elections room. I don't think there is a clock in there.
No, we probably get one on the computer.
We can-
Yeah, we could put one
Yeah,
up
but
on
you
one of
gotta
the screens. That's what we'll have to do is
They see it.
digital time.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good idea. Like the legislature does now, yeah, they do.
Well, and absent, you know, even without the clock, I think they would set some different guidelines. You know, part of the problem is Doyle likes to sit and debate them back and forth, which we kind of brought up in that meeting with them. You can't do that. You're not supposed to do that. Yeah,
I had to remind Doyle 4 times. In our wind turbine meeting, I would just get on Zoom because I was homesick and I'd say. This isn't a reminder to the board members, this isn't a debate, it's to listen to public testimony and make your decision. Then Doyle asked me about it next time I saw him, I said. It's not for you to sit there and question what they have to say, you listen and then you make your decision.
I mean, the benefit for us,
It tries great.
you've got all of the information and, you know, when they go on like that, by the time we get those records. There's not much else for people to even talk about when they get there.
Well, and there's, you know.
Don't let them repeat.
My goal has been really, there's the hearings that we have to have, the zoning, those type of changes, land use. Occasional use hearing, things like that, but I really try to. In the office and I work with all my staff, I say if we can do this without going to a public hearing, or if there's a way that we can, if we know that it's not gonna be favorable. More or less kind of discourage them, because to me, I'm like, I don't wanna have to do that in cases where we know that it is gonna be questionable, you know.
Well, I mean, it's slowly changing. And when did you say they elect next year?
October,
Next October?
yeah, and we'll get 2 new members then, plus if we do him, October. I think it's him and Russ, which I'll be glad that Russ can get a break, cause he's just so busy, he's
Yeah.
hardly ever at the meetings anymore
I
anyways.
asked him if he wanted to step aside, he said no.
He usually will come on Zoom for the first little bit, and then if he has bishopric meeting or whatever he has, he gets off, but.
So that's one thing you might ask Mark Teal, because I saw Mark in the store and I asked him if he would be interested, and he really was. He said he talked to Kevin, and he said, I'd really be interested in serving on that. Thank me for asking him. But later I was talking to Eugene Johnson, who's on the Cattlemen's board, and Mark is on that board. And he said, yeah, he said, Mark's great during the winter, but he said during the summer, he never comes to a meeting. So you make sure he
Just
knows
see
the
what
time
is,
commitment and that he needs to be there.
Because that's what he told, when we talked to him, he was concerned about the time commitment. Once he did the research and everything, you know, I think he's totally bought in.
It's not that bad, once a month usually, but
If I'm not that hard, you know, all of them go on vacation and miss a meeting here or there, I'm just like, it's fine. We just can't have you gone every month. you
Yeah.
know?
Well, the worst,
I want them to still live their lives, so.
the worst thing is 2 o'clock in the morning meetings that you don't need to have.
yeah.
And they're not all that way because, you know, the majority of them are just a quick, short, a good presentation, 3 or 4 people talking, you're done. But you get the big ones, it's,
Well, and I think that's where, you know, adopting this set of rules would even help the bigger ones to just
Keep moving.
keep
Yeah.
moving, but that's, I told Kevin, I said, I want it to be. You guys come from you guys, what you wanna do. I said, I'm not gonna sit down and write them for you, I'll help you, but I want you guys to decide what.
well, I don't know if it would be called a rule or suggestion, but, you know. If they could put in there, you know, somebody's already testified to a fact. Please just state whether you.
And that's in Bingham counties and they adopted it as a resolution and you can do that.
That's
It's hard to divorce.
Kevin asked specifically, he said, if, in another one of these that he was involved in, he said. If, you know, when you get the second person who testifies, that says the same thing. Then the chair would say, everybody in the room that's in favor of this, that agrees with this, raise your hand, take a straw poll, and then,
You get,
and then say,
I don't know that you
So,
wanna do that, but
let me finish. He said, they did that, and then they say, so now y'all don't have to get up and say the same thing. Because
yeah.
it's already been said, and you
But
know that you all agree with that.
What they don't do that they should do is. When I get up and I say, I really don't want this subdivision because I live here and I don't want the extra traffic, I don't want the extra school, and then the next person. Gets up and says, well, I don't want this subdivision because I don't want the extra traffic, then the chair should say. Okay, we've already heard testimony about the extra traffic and the impact on the schools, so.
We do that at our level, if.
You do, yeah, so does anybody else have testimony that isn't relating to those two items that would like to also share?
But I think you'll get advice when I see everybody do not have a raise a hand for a vote. Because it's not a popularity contest. Because
And that's,
then you've got especially the P and Z commission who thinks. They're gonna do what the public wants regardless of what the rules are.
and I really think it'll get a lot better. Kevin's got a pretty good head on him that way. Cause even when we talked about it at the last meeting, cause Doyle ended up being there, he wasn't gonna be there, cause he was in Brazil, but then his plane got in before the meeting, so he came to the meeting and. Kevin brought it up to Doyle, and Doyle's initial thing was, people should be able to talk as long as they want, I hate time limits, and.
Yes,
But
he
that's his opinion. And that's why I just told Kevin, I said, put some things together and put it to a vote, even if it's while he's still chair, because that's what you gotta do
I
sometimes.
encourage you to push the comprehensive plan to what the majority wants. We need to get that change. We can't drag it on forever, especially up around Beach's Corner. Some of those growth areas.
Well, speaking of going back, his subdivision is getting closed, but there's still a problem with that connection out through the north end into the city of Idaho Falls area. It's gravel. And I have expressed that concern to the engineers and everything else. It's like having this paved subdivision go to a gravel road, back to a paved road with that gravel section in between is just not conducive to what that northern exit.
Did they
is
take
supposed to
the
be.
gate out again?
Well, the gate's out. Yeah,
I don't know if I can force that. To have.
Because it was
developer-
accepted as part of our road inventory too.
Yeah, you just do it as an unimproved, I mean, it's got access basically, but
it's got access, but it's gravel and
you
that's,
can't force a developer after the fact to go and pave somebody else's road.
And
and I didn't understand that, but at the same time, we were led to believe that when he got that access, it was a paved access. It's gonna be a paved access.
I would think that most of the people that live in that subdivision aren't gonna use that gravel road, but. I guess you never know, I mean, I would.
If they don't, that's they only have one exit out.
And if they do, they're gonna be after the developer to say, look, can't we find some way to.
Make this better,
You know,
and the county's not gonna do it.
No, the county,
because it's not in our jurisdiction. It's the other thing, it's that city,
well,
they annexed that.
that's.
The city
that
did
line,
annex that.
They annexed it, but where is that hard line? And is it where the pavement ends or where?
I know that the city annexed it because that's where Doyle had to go to fight to get the connection, because I
Yeah.
told him that he couldn't have the connection unless he had something from the city that told him that they could use that road. So it's gonna be the city's responsibility ultimately.
It's just one of those 50 or 60 year ago historical things.
Yeah,
Do your best, maybe. Well, it'll be a little like when we improved Pitt Road and Lincoln Project.
yeah,
We couldn't get the city to work with us. Do you remember how it necked down there at the Mesa building? And went back out at Walmart?
Yeah.
And I told Chad at the time, I said, you it'd be nice if you'd work with us, partner with that, you know, of course.
Chad was Chad, so.
Yeah, I think you called me clever ass at that time, yeah. And I just said, well, we're gonna go ahead and do it, and you're probably gonna get the public pressure, and then. Boy, they got so much crap when we opened that up, and they had to go down to that, 2-lane pothole. And boy, they had that done within a year or two. So
So the
neighbors will put that kind of pressure on them.
other thing I was gonna tell you, Project Angus, I think they're gonna get their CO next week. They're pretty well done. Ron was out there. He's out there again today. Actually had to go out for about 3 hours worth of inspection stuff. But if you guys want to find a time, first of the year that works for all three of you to go out there, Ron said he'd call them and set it up so you can go see it done.
Yeah, it's not like it's a great.
So just figure out what works on your schedule. Ron's here. He usually takes Wednesdays off, but other than that, he's here. So just let me know what day you guys want to go out and.
We'll need to coordinate with them.
Yeah, well, maybe if Devin wants to be there, we can ask him. I have, the last time I was out there, they were just starting to paint, so it wasn't all the way done, but it's huge. Yeah.
I'd like to go too.
It's just crazy. He's taking some of the other building officials out there tomorrow that wanted to see it just because they've never seen things of that scale, but I guess in their freezers, they've got a couple compressors that they have to have in there that run the fire sprinklers in that portion of the building. And they're done, so they had hired a pressure washing company to come in and pressure wash everything off, get it cleaned up. Well, they pressure wash those 2 compressor units and fried them. So now they gotta order 2 new ones.
That's a funny bit for Frank.
Yeah.
It's been a expensive project, that's for sure. But it is impressive.
Definitely, we would appreciate half a beef. Better wrap. You know. That's a housewarming gift.
Yeah, no kidding.
Just so we could test the quality that they brag about.
It's quite the operation. They'd started putting up some of the machines when I was in there and all the hooks that pull the cows all the way through, and I'm just like, and you go look at where they bring the cows in, take them into the Knox box. Ron and I are standing there looking at it, we're like, is that even big enough to get a cow in there? Cause it narrows up so much at the end, but they say that they want that because it lines them up perfectly. It forces them to get in line.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Who was that? What was her name? The lady that they had helped design that. You remember her name? I wish I could say it. There's a documentary about her. She has autism, pretty serious autism. And like 23rd, I almost said it, 20, 30 years ago, she kind of broke into that field. She wanted to get into that. And it was a man's world, you know. I'll have to get the name and send it.
Yeah, that would be
It's
interesting.
Very interesting. And when we were out there, Devin said that they've been using her. But she is the pioneer of developing cattle moving operation systems that de-stress the cattle. Before then, it was all about beat them and we hit them with a hot shot, you know. And she kind of designed it so that cattle will move freely. You know, I'll get you that. It's
Didn't like
extremely-
a cow.
Yeah, yeah,
I'd like to see it.
yeah.
yeah, I'd like to see it too,
I'll get
especially
that
after
name.
going out and seeing the building. I'll probably come out again when you guys go.
Yeah,
I
I
just,
do.
If you let me know what.
it's
Okay.
something. else.
So what kind of movement is there on the other one?
Which one?
The distribution center.
Open, I think, the other day.
Oh, Intermountain Packing, yeah, they're,
City of Idaho Falls gave them.
yeah, my cousin is their CFO. They've been open for a little bit.
On Iona Road,
Just
past
before, yeah, well, if you're going towards the highway, it's just
Yeah.
before KJ's, the other way, it's just past KJ's.
So if you go out Holmes to Iona Road, you turn right, is down just over the railroad tracks, that bridge over the railroad track.
Oh,
Or right there, close. It's a lot smaller building than trains.
Remind me before you go, I wanna talk to you about a hearing that's coming up. That I can't talk about in front of these guys, but.
the flashy stop signs on the four-way stop and the flashy stop sign ahead.
Mhm.
And the safety, we were talking about how, Brad said that the social media post letting people know that those are there. It's gotten a lot of circulation and he
Probably.
said, interesting.
Good or bad?
Interestingly enough, all of the negative comments about why it took so long and how it's so stupid to have stop signs that people aren't used to because they slide through them, they don't know, they just blow them, and nobody's out there. All of those, he says, all the negatives were addressing the Idaho Falls, city of Idaho Falls should have done this or done this or done this, it's their fault, this is blah, blah, blah. He says, all of the positives were about Bonneville County.
What was this on?
On
Our four-way stop.
four-way stop out there, he says, yeah, we did the four-way stop, but the city of Idaho Falls didn't know the crap.
Good.
All the negative
Fine with
comments. I thought that was.
So I remembered the name. It's Temple,
That trade is not related to the.
Temple Grandin. That's, that's her.
Emotional trait, that is a neuroscientist.
She dresses really strange. She had pretty serious autism when she was young. But look it up. It's probably on Amazon or somewhere, but there's a show about Temple Grandin.
And Grandin.
Yeah. Grandin.
Okay.
It is a really good show, especially if you're interested in autism or anything like that. So yeah, it's very good, but when we were out there, Devin said that his system has been designed along her.
Yeah.
This was at Colorado State University. I think she's a professor there now.
Devin's been trying to haggle me on some other projects.
Oh, yeah, he's got more going.
He just wants really high density and I told him no. He just said, we're trying to get away from that. Sorry.
Housing.
Are they still looking at buying the?
No, this stuff's out by the sheriff's office. In Ammon, that corner that's undeveloped, it's still in the county, but Ammon won't annex it right now because they have that moratorium. And so they want to do some commercial there, which I said I'm fine with, but then he wants to put these huge 16 plexes back there, and I said. It's infill, maybe I can get you 8 plexes, but I'm not pushing for anything more than that.
They do for sure.
I think IBSD's there. But he wants
They
these
have
huge
Some area
buildings.
there, but I don't know if they have that much.
I,
capacity there.
I'll have to look and see if it's annexed into IBSD. I know that's what Maverick that's right across the street and Bridgewater's on, that's right behind it. So I know the line's there. I just am not sure if the area is annexed.
We did Lincoln project.
And it came there too, but. Yeah, they have somebody, I guess, that wants some commercial there, but one of their stipulations is residential. The tenant that wants the commercial pad, which he didn't say who it was.
Small commercial pad.
And then huge apartments, yeah, I said, no thanks, sorry.
Can't catch up, traffic. Yeah, I'm trying to take care of through a few impact, just kind of the beach's corner argument.
I don't know if you heard anything else about City of Ammon's proposal there across from Costco. But, I mean, they're showing a lot of high density there too.
Have to do a traffic study.
They already have.
Is it?
And it hasn't been finalized, I don't think, but And both the city of Idaho Falls and I commented on it, it's like. This is gonna impact 25th East.
That's already a bad
Anderson Falls commented negatively against it.
Yeah,
It's and
because they had. Four different accesses on the 25th East and 2 on the Lincoln Road.
Yeah, they had way too many accesses. I have that plan on my computer still.
Well, last I heard something from Cindy over there, she was, I mean, it was.
well, if the
She was like,
Hammond takes all of Lincoln Road. East from there.
They'll have to,
well,
because
they
they're,
would have to take
they're
that.
adjacent on the other side of the
Yeah.
road.
I know,
So the
So,
only reason they
yeah.
can actually was for one property
right,
attached to Lincoln Road and then White out.
That'll be an interesting to watch the dynamics between Coletti and Rebecca on this cooperation they've got down here road. You know, because Idaho Falls, that's what they've done, that's what they tried to do with Walmart. You know, the only good growth is in Idaho Falls, everything else, you know. It'll be really interesting.
So the negatives were negatives that I agree with. There was way too many access points on the 25th and Lincoln. But I don't know that City of Hammond has changed their mind about requiring the developer to limit access.
Well, I'm sure that if they create that type of impact, they'll jump in and help Idaho Falls on the roundabout and signal that they've taken from us, so,
yeah, luckily we won't have any part in that.
yeah, because they're not gonna cooperate on that. They won't help pay for that big changeover.
Anyway,
Well, I think that's it.